Now, speaking of ridiculous claims and lies coming from our government, did you hear this? Just recently, the CDC revised their guidelines concerning what? The COVID vaccine. Of course they did. First, the CDC dropping the recommendation that Americans quarantine themselves if they come into close contact with an infected person. Also, you no longer need to stay 6 feet away from others. Duh. The new guidelines are a complete 180 from 6 months, a year and a half ago. They've even eliminated mandatory testing for folks who potentially have been exposed to COVID now. But the most surprising change is this one: the guideline to end the distinction of separating the vaxxed from the unvaxxed. You heard me correctly. The CDC finally admitting what us crazy conspiracy theorists have been saying for months and months, that unvaxxed folks should be treated the exact same as vaxxed, period. So the big looming question: what happens to the thousands upon thousands of Americans who lost their jobs over this, or got kicked off a college campus, or booted out of the military? You remember how they were all treated. Show the headlines. Biden, the media, claimed we were killers, said it was a pandemic of the unvaxxed. Nonsense. Joining us now to discuss the legal rights of those Americans that were let go simply because they wanted to make their own medical choice. He's a constitutional attorney and has already been representing folks in the military and the private sector, Attorney Mike Yoder. Mike, welcome back. So how about it? The CDC quietly changes the guidelines we all had to adhere to for 2 years, and now admitting, well, if you get the shot, you can still get it, you can still spread it. So I guess the folks that don't get it, because they do have immunity, should be treated the same. Do I have a case here? If it happened to me, shouldn't I be able to sue and get my job and some money back?
Well, I think that we all know now when they say believe the science, they mean believe the political science, not the biologic or other scientific evidence that's just overwhelming, showing that the vaccines, not only do they not work, but they're also dangerous, as we've seen significant spikes in myocarditis. But more importantly right now, there's hundreds of thousands of Americans that have lost their jobs or have been discharged from the military service because they refuse to violate their sincerely held religious beliefs. And they continue to veil this as if it's discrimination against the unvaccinated, but in reality it's discrimination against the disabled and discrimination against those who exercise their sincerely held religious beliefs in line with their First Amendment right. And they're unvaccinated as a result of them exercising their religious beliefs, or as a result of a physician stating that the risks outweigh the benefit of the vaccine and were terminated as a result of that.
I know you've been working cases for some folks in the military. There was an Air Force person you were repping last time I spoke to you, and private sector. How are those cases going? And have you just been blowing up with more folks reaching out to you?
Right now I've gotten a lot of people reaching out because not only the CDC guidelines have changed, but we've also seen some success. Liberty Counsel, for example, just got a $10.3 million settlement against North Shore Hospital after 520 employees were terminated as a result of their religious accommodations being denied. They appealed it internally, and then they were subsequently terminated. There's a lot of change in the rhetoric. There's a lot of acceptance right now with the courts that are understanding that this is blatant and patent religious discrimination. We have never seen it on a mass scale like this before, where they're just abjectly denying accommodations, and absent either an insincere religious belief or absent an undue hardship, meaning so long as your religious belief is sincere, you're entitled to an accommodation. And if you lost your job because of that, you have claims under both your state's Civil Rights Act for religious discrimination as well as the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Mike, I know that you've been successful in some of these lawsuits already, and you've been on top of this since it all broke out and people were being persecuted for trying to make their own medical choice. Website is Yoder, ESQ or Esquire, yodersquare.com if you'd like to reach out to Mike, find out more about how he's helping folks fight back against this and the wrongful termination. Mike, God bless you for the work you're doing. I hate to say I told you so, but we've been saying this for almost 2 years. You take care, Mike. Keep up the fight for folks, will you?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.